African American and the arts. And what I would really like for you to do is first introduce yourself.
My name is Abigail Burhanu, but I go by Abby. So I have been an art teacher for 18 years. This is my 18th year of teaching. I taught high school for 15 years. And then I moved on to middle school right after that. And it has been definitely an adventure, and I'm loving every minute. It has been definitely a growing journey. And I don't mean that in the way that people try to disguise bad experiences, but middle school kids challenge you and get you to think compassionately in ways that maybe you had never realized. So I'm really enjoying this journey. I'm also an artist. And so that's a part of my identity, especially this last year and this year. I'm really trying to reclaim. As you both know, being art teachers, doing both is very, very difficult, because when you do have time, you are planning lessons, you are grading, you are resting, because in some ways you are creating art with your students all day when you're giving them feedback, when you're doing demonstrations. And so continuing that at home can be difficult, especially sometimes when you have a kind of a busy family life. I have two kids, Orion and Gideon. One is 4, my eldest is 7. So they definitely keep me busy. The enrichment that you are bringing to your school is unlike anything I've ever seen. And I've been a part of several schools. I have seen and worked with several schools, and I am just beyond impressed with the culture fair, with the amount of experiences and exposure you give your students. I don't even think a lot of us in St. Louis are doing what you're doing there. And I'm just so, so proud of you. And I brag on Lebanon High School all the time. And I brag on you all the time, because of the fact that I know that your students are going to grow and benefit from this and be amazing people, And I think teaching about Black history, acknowledging Black history, first of all, gives homage and appreciation and gratitude to the people, whether it is those that have given up their life, and that includes white and Black people. There were a lot of white clergy that died to help Black people ensure civil rights, right? Although it was a Black liberation movement led by Black people, there were a lot of allies that joined and make that happen. So for our students to know and to learn that means you're extending gratitude to the people that have given us a country that we are proud to be a part of, a country where we can say a Black and white student can sit next to each other, learn together, because that was something that wasn't possible throughout segregation, right? The civil rights movement extended way beyond Black people. It gave rights to LGBTQ communities. It gave rights to women in the sense that it inspired more rights, it inspired more policies to help every American, truly, at the end of the day. And this is something that goes on not acknowledged. So what Black people did for this country and continue to do as part of the American citizenship is move us toward a country that we are all proud to be a part of, one where we see each other's humanity. When we say the American ideology, the American pride that we have, that this is anybody can come to this country and fulfill the American dream, it is not the case right now. So we have to really work toward that promise. But guess what? With every decade, with every person who is learning about Black history, learning our history, and moving forward to ensure an equitable society for all, it is, and continuing to be a country, but grow more toward that objective that we say is American and solely American, and something we're proud to share with the world. So Black history is everything, because Black history is American history. That's what it is. It's a part of the American story. So not to learn about it, not to acknowledge it, not to be informed about it, first of all, leaves kids behind that don't get that information. So it already starts them off in an inequitable situation, where they can't compare to their peers who are getting that information. It extends gratitude, and then it moves us toward a better future for Black people, for brown people, for white people, for all people who call themselves American.
Abby, I was wondering if you could highlight a few of your favorite artists.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Visual artists. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Miss Barker, I have so many. It's hard to Frida Kahlo. Everybody knows Frida Kahlo. She's really, her life has really inspired me. You know, she was a woman. And when my students laugh about her unibrow, for example, I love that she's a woman who kept the unibrow. You know what I mean? She could have easily shaved it, or whether it's the mustache or whatever people wanted to say about her. She really, truly honored her identity and who she is and was unapologetic. And in that way, I think she's extremely inspiring. Nick Cave of Missouri is one of my favorite artists, you know, in the sense that his use of material is so exciting. What he's doing with the shimmery gold and sequin and all of these things, we just like associate with just beauty and glamour. He's using it to talk about his identity as a Black man and as a queer man, and how he has to hide that sometimes, and that these are suits and masks that he has created to hide that part of himself because it's not welcome. And like, it's such a powerful story to tell, right? Matika Wilbur, who's a photographer, Indigenous photographer, she has documented the Indigenous experience, the over 500 plus Indigenous communities that live here or are recognized by our government. And their experiences in the modern context is so exciting, and what she's doing for the Indigenous community. Oh, there's so many great photographers. Angelica Das, I love as well, and her experience as a Black Brazilian woman, and how she has brought that experience to the world and has got us to consider our skin color and the opportunities that come with that, or the lack of opportunities, and engaging us in conversation around equity, so we can finally be a country that truly judges people by the content of their character, because we're not there yet. And in order for us to get there, we have to acknowledge skin color. So she's having this really interesting dynamic conversation around our skin color matters, but it shouldn't. So it matters for now, so we got to talk about it. Yeah. To speak to the theme of the culture fair, I think what you are doing opens minds, it opens opportunities, it opens perspectives, and it also opens networking for your students. You know, I come from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. That's where I was born. I came to the States when I was 9 years old.
It is fascinating to see, you know, all the corners of Africa having its own identity. Mm-hmm. Could you describe a little bit about that beautiful diversity?
Oh my goodness. So I do a whole lesson on the continent of Africa. And I always say the continent of Africa. Every time I talk about Africa, we say the continent, because it's really important to acknowledge, like you said, Mr. Adams, there are 54 countries within Africa as of now. Okay, that could change, but for now we have 54 countries. Within Ethiopia alone, there are, I think, 84 or 86 different languages, not dialects, languages that are spoken. So when you think of this one country of Ethiopia having 86 different languages, and I couldn't even tell you how many tribal communities we have. We have so many, okay? So even within each country, whether it's Nigeria, whether you're talking about Ghana or Libya, and let's not forget, North Africa is a part of Africa, and they see themselves proudly as a part of the African continent and not just a part of the Middle East. Okay, culturally, they share a lot. So does Ethiopia and Somalia, and the East African countries also share. They're a blending of Nubian cultures and Middle Eastern cultures. You know, the language I speak, the native language of Ethiopia, is called Amharic. It is a Semitic language, so it's closer to Hebrew. It comes from Aramaic, the root where Hebrew and Arabic comes from. So there's so many intricate, like complicated, interesting cultures and languages and foods and traditions that live within the continent. When we just generalize it and say Africa, we are taking away the humanity and the individual pride that these people hold. Like, my husband is from Middle Missouri. He's from Fulton, Missouri, same place that Nick Cave is from. He's very proud of that heritage, and I celebrate that with him. I often tell my students, my husband is from rural Missouri, you know, and it's something he's proud of. And he's a country boy, and we talk about it a lot. And here I am, like an urban African or East African, Ethiopian, you know, Addis Ababa grown. And then here's my Middle Missouri husband, you know. So we can come together and appreciate one another's cultures and celebrate it without setting a hierarchy of whose is the best and who's this and who's that. It's such a rich home that we are lucky to bring our kids into, right? And so, and I hope all of the United States will also learn to do the same. Yeah, I was lucky enough to co-write a book with my friends. They are my friends and my colleagues and my partners in the work in equity and art education, the Anti-Racist Art Teachers. So we published a book called Anti-Racist Art Activities for Kids. My mother-in-law, she picked up the book and looked through it, and she's like, Abby, everything in here is everything everybody should know. This is so wonderful, because she knows the word anti-racist can be a contentious one, And what we have to realize about that word is that it means people who want to see differences and want to make a world that eventually will get to a place that sees differences but doesn't penalize people for the difference, right? So to be anti-racist means that you are working hard to fight racism. And I would like to think everyone's proud to be a part of this identity. And being an anti-racist is not just for Black and brown people. It is for everyone who wants to see a more equitable future, a fair one that includes everyone that we say is American, right? And we have to be careful, because being American also looks like me. It looks like Mr. Adams and Ms. Barker. It looks like Indigenous peoples. It looks like Chinese Americans. It looks like our LGBTQ community. We are all American. And, often anti-racism gets equated with being anti-patriotic. And I like to flip the script on this one big time.
Mhm.
I see myself as one of the most patriotic people in this country. I love this country. I work hard to help it live up to its promise, and to make sure that kids that look like me and that look white, that look Black, that look brown, that are LGBTQ, that they get to live in this country and love it too, and see that it is a place for them, that it is their country. They should not live like they are, foreigners. They are, in order to truly occupy the American identity, we have to feel like we're a part of it too, right? And so when I hear that narrative, no one gets to take away the fact that I'm American, and I'm a proud American. And even though I'm not white, I am American, and whiteness is not synonymous with being American. Being American also looks like me and my children, my mixed race children from my country, white husband and me, who have brought them into this world, and they are American proudly. And so I am a proud American, and one that wants to hold my country accountable, to see us and love us and make sure that we are also seen as American.